autumn music.
Okay, cool to start. Hi everyone, welcome. Happy Juneteenth. My name is Destiny Autumn, and I will kind of just be talking to you guys about what Juneteenth is. I will be talking about the music of African American people through the ages. And I wanted to kind of start off with Lift Every Voice and sing. Right now, the music is kind of going all over the place. But if you know it, chime in. We'll do this a cappella. Okay? Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmony of liberty. Peace and the highest sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. So guys, let's get started right into this. Happy Juneteenth! For most of us, we don't really know what Juneteenth is. A lot of us just learned very recently. So, let's give a little background. Juneteenth started, it was from June 19th. What happened was, back in the day, 1 second everybody. All right, so back in the 1800s, Juneteenth had started as a day of freedom, jubilee, and it became a nationally, now what it is, federally recognized holiday that discusses about the emancipation of the slaves. So what had happened was on June 19th in 1865, a general came and told people in Texas that they were free at last. Now, I want to just make this very, very clear that not all slaves were free in all 50 states until around December 18th, 1865, so we'll go and dive right into that. Okay, so I apologize, some of my notes got scattered from the wind. So can you give me 2 minutes?
You said 1865?
1865.
Damn, that was shit.
Yes.
My grandmother probably was alive. That's crazy.
All right, so starting back in 1861 was the Civil War movement, the Civil War that was going on. By 1862, President Abraham Lincoln had wrote the Emancipation Proclamation, which gave freedom to slaves. However, he was worried that that it could be reversed or found invalid after the Civil War had ended. Therefore, he sought to find a more permanent solution, and that actually became in the Constitution, the 13th Amendment. It's a part of the United States Constitution that abolished chattel slavery, which is also known as slavery in which you cannot have another person use his property. Now, because though that started in 1862 with the Emancipation Proclamation, it did not reach Texans and a lot of other people until 1865 because of the Civil War and also because of the Texas harvest that was going on. Texas was also a little bit slower because of to get the information because of the lack of Union troops that were in the slave state, which is why it was a very, very big deal that this happened on Juneteenth. By the way, as you were saying, that why didn't it come until December, even though a lot of people were emancipated in June 19th, it didn't actually go through all 50 states until December because Kentucky and Delaware at the time were still practicing slavery at the time. Also at the time, Republicans were the people that were searching to abolish slavery as well, so that African American people would have basic rights, except for voting, in which, as we found out, voting did not happen until later in the 1950s, 1960s, so had been stopped with literacy tests. So let's talk about the music then. So in the 1800s, we're going to just do one part of the outline, and then we're going to jump right into the next part. We had the 1800s, we had Negro spirituals. Negro spirituals were a form of music that was also a form of communication amongst African American people to describe their hardships. Also found out that through Negro spirituals, people also communicated a message of how to get to freedom. From the Negro spirituals, it ended up going into the blues, And the blues, while Negro spirituals did take from African tradition, such as the fact that it was an oral and oral tradition, which meant that it was heard, spoken. As the blues started to develop, it was a way of also communicating hardships, but more of a personal woe. Okay? So by the time the blues came in, we had a form. We had what's called like a 12-bar blues. We had, this is more so like, instead of the religious kind of uplifting Negro spirituals, this ended up becoming more of like a my baby left me kind of ordeal. So the blues also is different from any other different parts of music, as it includes bluesy notes, and like I said, that 12-bar form, and also a certain chord progression. So like this, going up. My baby left me, and I don't feel good. My baby left me, and I don't feel good. My baby left me, and I don't think she'll be without me anytime she could. Oh, I wish I had something to eat. Oh, I just wish I had tomato. Where should I get something to eat? Yeah, then it goes back. I get something to eat, and I guess I'll go right down to the local deli. So here's the thing. This also included call and response in terms of African American music that also stemmed from the African tradition. From there, this also transcends into later parts of music such as jazz, which we will also talk about later. This influenced your artists such as, this came from B.B. King, Bessie Smith, Mo Rainey, and Muddy Waters. So then let's get into classical and jazz. Classical music. Classical music came from, does anyone know where classical music originally stemmed from? What continent? So classical music was a part of European tradition. However, African American people also wrote and conducted and composed their own symphonies later on, such as William Grant Still, who ended up conducting the first American Symphony Orchestra. And it ended up also, America created their own version of classical music, which ended up becoming jazz, which basically combines African traditional music with European classical music. Jazz music, something that you guys have heard pretty much all throughout the day, throughout the neighborhood. Jazz is different as it is rhythmically complex. It uses complex chords, extensions, it uses polyrhythms, or the ability to have two rhythms on top of another. Improvisation, which is the ability to create on the spot. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an example of that. There is music, no place to do. Somewhere there's heaven, how high the moon. There is no moon above when love is far away too. Feel it comes true that you love me as I love you. Somewhere there's music, it's where you are. Somewhere there's heaven, how near, how far. Darkest night would shine if you would come to me soon. Until you will, I'll steal my heart. How high the moon, this is improvisation. Which is also called a trio. What they would do is they would just trade off each other and pick up almost like it was talking in a different language. okay? And what I was just doing is we sing through the head, we take an in breath, and then we take it right out. And that also stems, like I said, from African tradition. We're getting into 1950s, ladies and gentlemen. 1950s, we had rock and roll, okay? Everybody knows about Elvis Presley, maybe Little Richard. Not many people may know about some of the other pioneers of rock and roll, which was Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Rock and roll has its origins in jazz, so if you notice, everything starts to collect with each other after a minute. Used a lot of more backbeats. Though swing music was a thing and you can dance to jazz music, this becomes the time when we're starting to get into more danceable music. This was also a time when white people and black people alike were coming even more together as well. Since teenagers, parents found that rock and roll music was kind of rebellious. Teenagers ended up kind of rebelling and it really came together. And it could have been the start of how the civil rights movement came to join in with the alley show. Okay? By 1960, we are heading into the Motown era. Does anyone know about the Motown era? I feel like everybody knows about the Motown era. Motown is not a genre of music per se. However, it is a record label started by Berry Gordy from Detroit, Michigan, which was called the Motor City, where the auto industry was at. At this time, a lot of your R&B vocalists came from there, such as Stevie Wonder, such as Jackson 5. You had your kind of girl groups and boy groups with Smokey Robinson and the Marvettes, and you also had the Supremes and Diana Ross. Usually in this aspect, the lyricism spoke about failure and love, many love songs, relationships, aspirations, inspirations, dreams, economic standpoint. By the time we reach into the 70s, we have disco, this rise of disco music, which becomes that more danceable kind of feel. Disco music is known for its strings. Now we're adding more strings into our music. It's known for the synth. Now venues become more focused in on dancing. So you've got the start of your nightclubs starting up rather than just playing in restaurants and cafes. Disco's more of like a pop feel, accented on the 4 on the floor beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It has groovy bass lines, lots of synth. And also around this time was with the rise of funk music, which had more of a jazz feel to it. Complex chordal structure, complex grooves, synced bass, and not as much of an emphasis on the melody. For example, James Brown is one of our big funketeers, I guess you could say. And Parliament Funkadelic. Not so much concentration with the melody in terms of singing, but more of like just to get you really onto that floor, the dance floor. We approach into the 1980s, and by the 80s, it's basically a clash of everything. You've got a lot of more electronic music. It's very electronic based. With the rise of digital records and MTV music videos is starting around. Catchy hooks, synths, electronic sound, experimenting. If you were a rock fan, like Queen, kind of experimenting in distortion and experimentation. This is also where Prince is really coming up and coming. Michael Jackson.
What year?
This is in the 1980s. 1980s, yeah.
Oh yeah, the 80s.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on in the 80s.
I was stuck in the 80s before.
Now it was also the rise of the start of hip-hop as well. Finally, we're about to head into the 1990s, which is known for rap music, hip-hop rap music, which is basically poetry over a beat. You learn about it, that vocal rhyme mixed with rhythmic speech. There's samples by DJs, turntables, scratching, graffiti, breakdancing. That's all of the elements of hip hop and rap music. This is where lyrics are a little bit more explicit. It came from more of your inner cities for Black and Latino communities. Also, people in charge of this, we all know about Run DMC, Grandmaster Flash, Will Smith was coming up, Tupac, Biggie, all of those records. Also, during the 1990s, we had the rise of Neo Soul, which had Erykah Badu, our Lauryn Hill, Music Soul Child, mostly women vocalists, but also men as well. Very alternate kind of R&B, very conscious driven. Mix of jazz, soul, and like that reggae kind of thing. Now we have reached officially what we are at now, which is everything that we have going on right now is basically a collective of all the different genres of music. We have disco, alternate pop, alternate rock, alternate R&B. Everything's pitch corrected, lots of melismas. This is Beyonce, Mariah Carey type of era. Vocal harmonies and the use of beats and samples. So outside of America, we also have Latin America, and I want you guys to do a little bit of a group activity with me if you can. So we are going to talk about how African tradition also made its way to Latin American countries. Could you clap with me? This is what we call clave.
All right, what I want you to do is just clap like I'm doing right now, okay? So we're going to do what's called a 2-3 clave. It goes like this. Press, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, press, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, press, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, press. Good. Nice. Good. Keep it up. Good. 1, 2. One more time.
You guys sound so great! Wonderful! Now, there's also the inverted 3-2 clave. I will show you an example that Stevie Wonder ends up using in one of his albums, the Inner Vision album. This is called the 3-2 clave, so I will show you how to do that.
All right, you guys ready? Go. Opposite. 1, go in. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Last time. Nice. Very good.
African tradition had influenced these claves. What a clave is, what you guys were just now doing, is it's a rhythmic element in Afro, Latino, and Caribbean music. It's got an underlying ostinato rhythmic pattern, which makes that rhythmic bass. In pop music, that would be if we clap on 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? This is like what we call the key pattern and the keystone. This came from the 6/8 rhythms of African tribes from the Nigerian and Congolese slaves. So I'm going to show you how that also applies into, we're going to use some of what Stevie Wonder from the Motown era, but now also using the influence of Latin American clave.
Well, that's when Nelson was down. The word Nelson was down. You. What part of Africa is that?
Don't you worry about a thing, mama. 'Cause I'll be standing in the side when you check it out. They say it's style and life's a drag, and then she must go and see. But don't you ever feel too bad when you move like that. Don't you worry about a thing. Don't you worry about a thing, mama. 'Cause I'll be standing in the side when you check it out. When you get off your trip, don't you worry about a thing. Don't you worry about a thing. Oh, don't you worry about a thing. Well, don't you worry about a thing, cause I'll be standing in the side when you check it out. Oh, when you get off the street. Oh, everybody needs a chance to check out the loop. But you're the only one to see the chances you take yourself through. Don't you worry about a thing. Don't you worry about a thing, mama. 'Cause I'll be standing in the sand when you check it out. Don't you worry about. Worry about a thing. No, 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 don't you worry. Don't you worry about a thing. No, don't you worry about a thing. No, 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 no. Don't you worry about a thing. All right, nice job with the 2-3 clave. You guys did great. All right, thank you to the drums. The drum circle is coming up next, by the way, y'all. We also have Caribbean music, calypso and sako, that has been soca, that has also been influenced by African tradition, mixed with Indian rhythmic, and from the Trinidad and Tobago. But now let's talk about the African regional music, which ties in with the African instrumentation. So, in traditional, like Africa obviously is a huge continent full of much diverse countries. A lot of the music is communal, just like how everything is right now. Like you guys participating with me, very communal. It's not just a one-person thing. Unlike when we go to a concert and we're just staring at like Justin Bieber, like, you're amazing! It's different. Everybody also plays an instrument. Everybody in the crowd, and we join in. It's religious, it's polyrhythmic, it's heterophonic, so it has 2 or more parts elaborating on the same kind of melody, kind of in jazz, like how jazz is influenced. And it's also polyphonic, so a lot of counterparts going through. I should also say that a lot of special events included music, so for your political things, for your ceremonies, for funerals, for birthdays, for all social gatherings. And everybody participates, as I said. Large and colorful, like the instruments that you see over there, full of a lot of color. And like I said, it's all about density and movement. So lastly, I just want to talk about the instruments that are found in Africa and some of the in their groups. We have the cordophons, which have like strings. This is with your lutes, your harps, and all. You have the ideophones, which is kind of stricken like the thumb piano, kalimba thumb piano. We have what is called the membrophones, which are right over here. You've got your skin colored. Also, I have mine right over here. Djembe, cool. And then we have the aerophones, which are like more wind instruments, and the electrophones, which are usually more electrical based instrumentation. So all of this is to say, thanks to Juneteenth, it came from a lot of African traditions that passed through time and time again. But it is very, very important that before I close out, we remember, one, not just that the rise and the equality does not just end with a holiday or a month, okay? It goes through the whole year, and we need to come together as people and make sure that we, each and every one of us, are getting equal opportunity as much as we can for each and everybody in the community. It does not just end with a federal holiday, June 19th becoming a federal holiday, okay? All right, thank you, everybody. And now we're starting to invite with the drum circle. Have a very wonderful time with the next act.
I would say this. Right along here? Yeah? Yeah. And we'll just, instead of that being the stage, this will be it. And we can all face towards the center. Yep.
Hello, thank you very much for coming out. We are going to get started.
They're going all directions.
Mr. Allison here is going to put us in place and tell us what to do. Everybody is invited to come. As you can see, there's some heavy hitters showing up here. Can I get one final round for Ms. Destiny Autumn? Very much appreciated her walk through the music. And we are going to be bringing her back because I heard her scat one time and it was like, oh, my man, Art remembers. She was really good. So thank you very much. We're going to get set up for the next act and keep it going.
One, two. Okay, so I was asked by Greg to get some people together for a drum circle today for Juneteenth, and I'm very glad that everyone's showing up. I am not a leader when it comes to drumming. I will say that right now. We have a couple of people, at least one out here, who tends to be more in charge and more of a teacher for drumming. That's Yaya, who's over here. Put your hand up, Yaya. Hello. We have Vincent over here as well, who is a very good drummer, who plays with a group as well. And I know we have Brian, who also plays a lot as well. And then all the rest of us. We got Richard there. Richard as well, saxophonist and well the drummer. And others, we have a few other drummers out here because this is just an opportunity for us to drum together. You know, I'm looking for, at least as far as I'm concerned, we don't need perfection. We just need desire. So if you are interested in drumming, we do have a couple extra drums up here. You can grab one, sit down on one of these stones, and join us in drum. So the floor is open to do that. I have 4 drums over here, maybe 5, but 4 drums over here. So anybody want to come up and drum, just come this way. All right? You can start off something, you can just play. All right. Bonga! Bonga Lafia!
Thank you.